I do want to mention to you, church, that we are very privileged to have men in the church. Men, in our church that teach children ministry. We have that for quite a number of years, and I'm just really thankful, because a lot of times when we look at churches with children ministry, usually just a bunch of ladies, taking care like a babysitting, but I don't believe so. Children ministry should be ministering to the children by example, and men, we need to have men in this country, men that's stepping up, as leaders. Not just sitting in the back because you have already worked all day and all that kind of stuff. All right, man, we need to step up spiritually. We need to be spiritual leaders. And I praise the Lord for men like that in our church today. All right? So, welcome to you. If you're first time with us, I noticed that, Mila, is that your mom next to you? Man, she looks like your sister. She looks, It's good to see you today. And we welcome you to come here to New Zealand. And we're glad that you're here. So I hope you'll be blessed today, all right? And this morning, we're privileged again to have Pastor Martin. I tell you, in the last just about almost 2 months now, he's been, away from his church, moved down south, and he's stranded here in the Holy Land. And, and it's been good to have him. He's been such an encouragement to me. We have some good theological discussions and things like that, even about the sermons we're preaching, this series. And he is just a man that knows the Word as well. And guys, I'm looking forward to whatever God has in store for him in our church. God's willing that we're going to work together to see more people like him coming into ministry from our church here as well. So looking forward. But today, Pastor Martin is going to close our series on the final destinations, heaven or hell. And today we're going to close it in the topic of hell. So I want you to listen closely. Please have a humble heart and submissive spirit and listen to the Word of God. Amen. Let's welcome Pastor Martin once again. If you would please. Let's welcome him.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Ewan. I do appreciate those words. And I have enjoyed it as well, brother. Yeah. One of my things that I love to do is to sit with other men and talk about the Word. And talk about, the deep and meaningful things. How many nails were in the ark, and what was the color of Abraham's beard, and all of those wonderful things that we preachers love to get together and talk about. That blows the pants off everybody else, but we love it. So I thank you again for this opportunity to preach your word, the Word, in the church. It's always a privilege to stand up in the pulpit and to open up God's Word, and it's not one that I take lightly. It is, I'm reminded, every time that I open the Word, I'm reminded of where God has brought me from. And the fact that I'm standing here today is a testament of His mercy and grace and love.
Amen.
And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Right.
Okay, so let's have a word of prayer this morning, and let's get started. Dear Lord, we just thank you for this opportunity that we have to gather in your house, Lord. I thank you for each one that is here. This morning, Lord, we pray that you be with the different ministries happening this morning, Lord, with the kids, with the youth. Lord, we pray that your Spirit would be working there just like you're working here this morning, Lord God, and that the children would grow and the love and admonition of the Lord, that seeds would be planted in their hearts at a young age, Lord, that would grow and take fruit throughout their lives, Lord. It's no greater joy for a parent than to see their child saved, and no greater time to get saved than when you're young. And to follow the Lord all the days of your life is something I wish I had in my life, Lord. I didn't come to you at a young age, and I bear the scars of that, Lord. So, Lord, we just come before you this morning as we open up your word. I pray that your Spirit, Lord, will just meet with us. I pray that you would do what I can't do, Lord. Take this word and apply it into people's hearts. Lord, help me to preach your word this morning with love and with balance, but also with warning, Lord, because hell is very real. And it's not something that we can discount or take lightly. You don't in your word, and we should neither in our lives, Lord. So I pray this morning that you would work in our hearts and our lives, that ultimately you would be glorified, Lord, that people would see that you are working all things together for good and calling all people to you, Lord.
Yes.
It's just a matter of whether we will hear or not. Lord, I pray that you would speak to us this morning. We give you the honor and the glory. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, so as Pastor Ewan said a couple of weeks ago, we started the series on heaven and hell. It's always an interesting thing. I don't know if you've experienced it, brother, but when you tell people that you're preaching on heaven and hell, you kind of get some looks like, what exactly are you going to say? grade. Am I going to be on the list? Am I going to be there or am I not? Right? So it's always an interesting thing preaching on heaven and hell. And also, I have always found over the years when you start preaching on, if you like, things that are real, things that deal with eternity, things that shed light on Satan and how he works in this world around us, that Satan hates that and he fights. And he fights dirty. And all of a sudden, half the congregation will come down sick with some mysterious illness. It'll be a struggle to get to church on Sunday morning. The car won't start. You'll have a flat tire. You have an argument with your wife, your husband, or whatever. Satan knows how to work to keep us from hearing his word, because he does not want Christians hearing God's word. He does not want us being built up and encouraged and strengthened to take a stand in this world. And so we started off the first couple of weeks talking about heaven. And heaven is an interesting topic to preach on. I think I mentioned in my message, and it's really hard to find balance on heaven, because if you go too far one way, you can come off sounding all wishy-washy. And heaven is just this place of rainbows and joy and love, and everybody just sits around on a cloud forever with a little harp and that sort of stuff. And it doesn't really do it justice. And other times you can talk about heaven as too practical and too much like this earth, and people don't get excited about that, because I don't know about you, but I don't really want to live in Auckland forever. Who wants Auckland to be the promised land, the heaven? Right? No, it's pretty far down the list of places, I think. Right? I'm looking forward to my new mansion. Okay? Not my current mansion. Okay? I'm looking forward to that new place. Okay, so it can be tricky finding a balance on heaven and keeping it real, keeping it practical, keeping it so that it excites people, because it is something to look forward to. It's something that we just cannot imagine. It is something that is far beyond anything we can think of. Right? But at the same time, this is a subject of hell. And when you preach on heaven, you've got to preach on hell. Right? And it's not that we do it joyfully, it's not that we do it excitedly, it's not that, yes, I get to preach on hell today, and I get to put people in their place and tell them just how much God loves them. Right? That's not how we deal with preaching on hell. Sadly, there are preachers out there like that. And again, it can be difficult preaching on hell and keeping it in balance. Right? Because it can be very easy for us Christians to get up on our little high horse and start thinking that we're so much better than everybody else. And everybody else is just worthless, terrible sinners, and God hates everybody, and that's why he sends them to hell. Right? So preaching on them both with balance, can be very difficult. And I think Pastor Erwin did a really good job last week in the first message on hell, preaching about where exactly hell is and the time frame and that sort of thing, because you've got to start with that foundation. Okay, you've got to start with that. And then today I'm going to finish off with a couple more thoughts. It's very similar actually to my message I preached on heaven. Those of you that remember that. But this morning I just want to start Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. Jesus, I believe, spoke more about hell than he did just about any other subject, I believe. Certainly more than he did about heaven. And he spoke of it as a real place. He spoke of it as a place outside the gates, because for a Jew, see, we don't realize as Gentiles, it doesn't really sink into us, but for a Jew, the scariest thing for a Jew was to be cast out. That was their worst thing in the world, to be cast out, for their name to be blotted out of the genealogies, taken out of the books, and for them to be forgotten. That was the scariest thing for a Jew. Right? And so when Jesus spoke about hell, that's often how he phrased it. That's how he said it. It's a place of outside the gates, out of darkness. A place where you're forgotten, where even your children and your grandchildren, they don't remember your name. It's as if you never existed. That's often how Jesus spoke about hell. But he also spoke about it as a real place. Not an imaginary place, right? In Matthew chapter 10, verse 28, Jesus talking to the crowd, he says, "Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul." He says, "But rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." Right? Don't fear what man can do to you. Right? They can take away, in countries around the world, this happens to Christians all the time. We're very lucky here in this this country, so I believe it will come. They can take away your freedom, they can take away your possessions, they can take away everything that you hold dear, but they cannot change your eternity. They cannot take away that hope that we have. Right? And when Jesus says fear him, he's not talking about be afraid of God, some vengeful, angry, wrathful God. He's saying, no, respect him. Respect him who has the power. Like when you stand before a judge, I don't know if anybody in here has ever been in court. Okay, I don't know actually. I have a couple of times, but not, I've been there as a witness, not actually the one, in court. But the thing is, when you're in court, you don't make light of the judge, right? You don't go up to the judge, hey, yo, Mr. Judge Man, that sort of thing. No, you treat the judge with respect because he has the power. He has your future in the palm of his hand, so to speak. And that's how we should be thinking about God, as the one who has the power. Right? Because Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27 says to us, it's appointed unto men once to die, and after this comes the judgment. See, a lot of people wonder, why did God create heaven and hell? Why did he put such a thing in existence? I personally think the wisdom of God knows that without eternity, this life is meaningless. Without something after this life, right, good or bad, heaven or hell, without eternity, nothing what we do in this life matters. Right? So if you don't believe, well, actually, what you believe doesn't matter. If there is no heaven or hell, then why do we do good things for people? Why do we love people? Why do we try and build up our little lives, right? And live in society in harmony? Shouldn't we just be out there taking whatever we can get? The weak dominating the strong, the powerful, the rich taking whatever they want from the weak and the poor? Isn't that how life should be? If this life is everything that it is, shouldn't it all be about us? And what makes us happy? What makes me feel good? Right? We watched a movie a few years ago called God's Not Dead. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that movie, God's Not Dead. It's a great movie. You guys should watch it. We watch a lot of movies, by the way. We got heavy references. But God's Not Dead does a great job of this. There's a young man who's at a university or a college. Okay? And one of the classes he's taking is philosophy. He has to take this philosophy class to pass his college thing. And the professor of the class hates God. Okay, how you can hate something that you don't believe in is a different story. But anyway, the professor of the class hates God. And he has the class write an essay on why God is dead. Right? And if you don't write this essay and agree with his point on why God is dead, then you're going to fail the class. And so the young man in the story is a Christian. And he stands up and he says, I can't write that essay because I don't believe that God is dead. Right? So then the professor says, well, you're going to have to put them to the test and we're going to have a debate and you're going to have to try and convince the whole class that God is not dead. Right? But the young man in his arguments as the movie progresses, he says to the professor, well, professor, we're in a class, you give me a test. Right? I go and steal the answers to the test, so I cheat. Right? Is that right or wrong? And the professor says, well, that's wrong, you can't do that. And the young man says, well, why not? If you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in right and wrong, because right and wrong comes from God, why can't I do what suits me best? Why can't I break into your office and steal those answers and cheat on your test? Because that's what suits me. And the professor had no answer for that. Right? But that is why I believe God created heaven and hell, to give this life meaning. To make us understand that what we do in this life matters. The way that we live, the decisions that we make, the way that we interact with people, it matters. And not just so that we'll be remembered nicely by those that come behind us. We might get a statue or something like that if we do something really awesome. Right? Not just for that, but because what we do in this life echoes into eternity. Right. For good or for bad. Yeah. And that is why heaven and hell exist. And so this morning I just want to share with you guys just some quick, 3 quick thoughts about the reality of hell. Because when you talk to people, we watch some videos. I tried to find one to show this morning, but I couldn't find one that suited really. But when you talk to people about heaven and hell, you get all sorts of answers.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions, just like there's a lot of misconceptions about heaven and how you get into heaven and the requirements of who's going to be in heaven. There's just as many, if not more, misconceptions about hell.
Yeah.
Okay, and you'll find a lot of people out there that don't want to believe hell exists. They don't want to believe, no. So you either go to heaven or else there's nothing, right? But that is not what the Bible teaches us. Right? That is not what the Bible teaches us. The Bible teaches us the reality that there is a heaven and there is a hell.
Yeah.
Jesus himself spoke of it, and he talked like that, and he taught like that. Okay, and the New Testament follows it up, and then we're going to talk a lot about the Revelation, the book of Revelation. Okay, and at the end of the book of Revelation, when John was caught up in the Spirit into heaven, and he saw what's going to be happening in the future, right? And he saw those visions. The last thing that he saw was hell, right? And heaven, and both. Okay. So there's lots of misconceptions out there. So let me just start as we get started this morning. A couple of the more popular misconceptions people have about hell. Okay, hell is not going to be party central. Okay, hell is not going to be a place where you go and you just hang out with your friends and you sit around, like you do at the club or the bar or whatever. Because a lot of people think, man, I'm going to go to hell. It's going to be me and my friends. We're just going to have a great time. No, hell is nothing like that. Okay, hell is not just a state of mind. Right? Or a place where your consciousness just disappears and you just disappear out into the void. Hell is not like that at all. It's not just all in your head. Hell is not here in this world. There are some people that think this world is hell. Alright, now admittedly, on a Monday, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. Okay. You have to go back to work, and the kids go back to school, and it's a fight through the traffic, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I can kind of understand that. But as bad as this world is, as terrible as things are right now, with everything going on around the world, right, it's nothing in comparison to what's coming during the tribulation and what will come with the eternal hell. Nothing like it. Hell is not a place where Satan rules. Hell is not a place where Satan is in charge. It's not a place where he sits has any say whatsoever. In hell, Satan is just like everybody else. He is stripped of all of his abilities. He is stripped. Because right now, the Bible tells us Satan can appear as an angel of light. He can appear as a minister of good things. And that's how he deceives the world. And he can do signs, and he can do lying wonders. And he can imitate the things of God like that. Right? That's how he currently operates. But one day that will all be stripped away from him. Everything that he has, all the influence that he has, all the deception, all of that will all be stripped away. And he will be cast into the hell where he is just like everybody else. It's not a place where Satan has any power or anything like that, or any of his angels. Okay? Hell is a very real place. It's a very scary place. Okay? It's a horrible place. The Bible gives us a few glimpses into what hell is going to be like. And let me assure you, it is not a fun place. Right? You're going to be there, well, hopefully none of you will be there, but people will be there for about that long before they want to get out. And so that's it, I had enough, I want out of here. But it's too late. It is too late by then. Hell is a place of individual consciousness, so you're aware of yourself, your body, that sort of stuff. It's a place of eternal torment, right? Where you're never ending, the Bible says, never ending in the fire and the flames and the torment. Place of darkness and a place of terror. Jesus says many times that there's just wailing and gnashing. That's all you can hear is these sounds echoing through hell. People wailing and crying and not having a good time at all. I believe hell is a place where you remember. A place where you remember every time that you laughed, at a Christian, every time you mocked a preacher, every time you scoffed at someone trying to witness to you, every time that you rejected God. I think those thoughts will play in a person's mind again and again and again and again. Forever. Right? Hell is not going to be a fun place. All you have in hell is your memories. There's nothing else you can do. Nothing else you can do. Hell is not a place that I want to go. I don't even want to visit it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want there to be any tours when we get to heaven. I take a little bus tour through hell. No, I don't want to go anywhere near it. Okay? And it's not a place that I want anybody that I know to go. It's not a place that I look at someone and say, man, you deserve to go there. No, it's not a place that I don't think anybody deserves or wants to go there. Okay? That was Jesus' attitude. Jesus said he came to seek and to save as many as he can. And that's the charge that he gave to us. He gave us the job of taking the gospel to the entire world. So this morning I just want to share with you guys just 3 thoughts about the reality of hell. Okay, 3 things that I hope will make us more proactive. Because it can be a depressing subject to talk about this morning. I'm not trying to be negative here, okay? I think God gives us these examples of hell to encourage us to get out there and do everything we can for those around us to limit the numbers that are going to go there. To do everything that we can to stop as many people as we can from going there. Right? But how do we do that? Well, we're going to talk about that this morning. Okay? So I want to give you three quick thoughts about this. As I was preparing this message, a quote came to me that I'd often heard before. You guys might have heard this quote. I can't remember who exactly said it, but he was a pretty wise guy. He said, all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. So all that is necessary for Satan to triumph in this world around us is for us, the saved, the Christians, the church, for us to do nothing. Right? That is worse. That is the worst thing we can do, is to do nothing. Right? We shouldn't fall into the trap of keeping the truth to ourselves because we're afraid of what someone might say, because we're afraid they might laugh at us, because they're afraid they might think of us as weird. None of that is going to matter when we step into eternity. None of that is going to matter. Yeah? I think we're going to look back when we get up into heaven. I talked about a little bit of my message a couple of weeks ago. When we get up to heaven, I think we're going to see every time we had an opportunity to witness to someone. And we didn't take it. Right? That's why we need to be proactive. That's why we need to get out there. And we need to share the love of God. So people don't have to go to this horrible, terrible, terrifying place. Okay? So the first thing I want to share with you guys this morning, the residents of hell. Yeah, just like last 2 weeks ago when my message, the first thing we spoke about was who's going to be in heaven. Well, today we're going to start off with who's going to be in hell. And again, there's a lot of funny ideas when you talk to people. There's all sorts of ideas that people have about who's going to be in hell. All right, Satan has done a great job of confusing the subject, of taking a little bit of Bible truth here and a little bit of Bible truth there and just mixing it all around. And so there's all sorts of funny, weird ideas out there. Right? And as I said before, a lot of people don't even believe in the existence of hell. A lot of people don't believe that it's even a real place. So first you have to get past that idea. Okay, and those that do believe in hell have funny ideas about how you get there. Usually they're not based on the Bible though. Right? I was watching some interviews last night as I was studying for this message, and it's like some people that even claim to be Christians. Alright, and then the answers that they're giving are not based on the Bible. And so how can you be a Christian and not believe what the Bible says about heaven and hell? Often they're based on what someone has heard, or maybe seen on TV, or maybe what some guy has told them, but not based on the scriptures. Often ideas are based on people's own prejudices. Right? And sadly this happens a lot these days. A lot of churches and a lot of people out there get this idea based on their own prejudice, their own fear, their own hatred, that a particular group of people or a particular culture, a particular this or that, are they the ones that are going to go to hell. Right? But that's not the case. Usually when people have that idea, it's about everybody else. Right? Everybody else is going to go to hell, but not me. Right? Because what I do is not so bad. So God's going to be nice and lenient to me, but everybody else, they're terrible sinners, so they're going to go. Okay? So there's three main groups. The Bible tells us first off that there's three main groups that will make up the residents of hell. Now, as we begin this little thing as well, let me just clear up or remind you guys, okay, what I'm talking about in most of this message about hell is the eternal hell. Okay, as Pastor Erwin talked about last week, there's the current place where people go when they die, right? Hades, Gehenna, the place of departed spirits. Okay, so when people die, their soul goes under the earth. Okay, and that's where they wait. Okay, and if you remember back to my message before, 2 weeks ago, that's also where Abraham's bosom was. Okay, when people who died before the cross, they went down to the same place. There was a great gulf between it, but they could see each other. And that's how the rich man had his conversation with Abraham. Okay, so that place, when Jesus died on the cross and he opened up the way to heaven, remember those souls got taken out. Up in the heaven, hell, the Bible says, enlarged itself. So now it takes up the whole space under the earth, because I guess it needed more room, sadly. So when people die, that's where they go, under the earth, and they wait for the second resurrection, where they will be brought up to stand before the Lord. And that's what we're going to be talking about this morning, is what happens after that resurrection, after that judgment. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about when we say hell, the eternal hell, the second death, the Bible calls it, the lake of fire. Okay, so the first group that's going to be cast into this eternal hell is the beast and the false prophet. Okay, now these guys you find in Revelation, they come to power during the tribulation. Okay, so remember the next event on the spiritual calendar is what? Anybody remember? The next event on the spiritual calendar? The rapture. Okay, when Jesus comes in the clouds, blows his trumpet, and we all get taken out of here up to be with the Lord. Okay, the whole church is taken out, the Holy Spirit is taken out at that time as well, and the world is left to its own devices. So the Antichrist comes to power, and the beast and the false prophet. Okay? So read through the book of Revelation. It's a great study to do. It can be a bit confusing sometimes because it's an interesting book to study, but it is very well worth it. So what happens is the beast and the false prophet come to power in the tribulation, and they lead the whole of humanity basically against Jesus and his saints. And it's what's called the Battle of Armageddon, where Jesus comes back at the end of the tribulation period. You guys might have heard that term, the Battle of Armageddon. Okay, it takes place in the Valley of Megiddo in Israel. And millions, hundreds of millions of people are killed in this battle. Right? And the beast and the false prophet are captured. So Revelation chapter 19, verse 20. We won't read the whole chapter, but we'll just stick to these main verses for now. Then the beast, well, John says, and the beast was captured, and with him the false prophet who worked signs in his presence, by which he deceived those who received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped him as his image. And these two were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. So the first people, or the first ones who get cast into the lake of fire there, are the beast and the false prophet. Okay? And then not long after that, the second group that gets thrown in there is Satan and his angels. Okay, Jesus tells us, in fact, in Matthew 25, verse 41, that hell was created for Jesus and his angels. So for Satan and his angels. Wow, scratch that one out. Okay. That's pretty bad. Okay. Hell was created for Satan and his angels, not for man. Okay? Yeah. He says in Matthew 25, verse 41, and he says, he will say also to those on the left hand, depart from me, you cursed, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Okay, hell, as Brother Erwin talked about last week, was not intended for man. It was not created for man. God's intention for man was that we would live with him in peace and in harmony and unity and love in the garden. That was God's intention, that we would live forever in fellowship with him in the garden, in innocence, our entire lives. Right? But you guys know the story. Man messed it up. Ate the forbidden fruit. I've heard many